We are live. Now we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and all those places. Okay, sick. And now, okay, we got it figured out. Thanks to everyone who's tuning in. We just did about 12 minutes. We just did about 12 minutes of a podcast with no one watching because Cofield's not here.
If you'd like to hear me opine on and wallow in my career choices and how I got to this section of my life, tune in after the show for the podcast re-up edition, and that will all be on there. But yes, we have been talking for 10 minutes unbeknownst to you.
That was like my fear because I was watching as I see I can see like the eyeball number go up, how many people are watching us.
Zero did the zero give it away?
Well, no, it just wasn't. The icon wasn't there, so I'm like, oh, maybe it just doesn't tell you. But now I know nobody was watching. We were just talking. That's kind of cool. That's kind of fun. That's great because we didn't really cover anything that was on our rundown. We actually, I brought you up to speed on last week's show, but yeah. I do think that segues nicely talking about how a couple weeks ago I moderated our local Newport Beach City Council candidate forum, and we had Noah running for city council, anti-masker, owns a restaurant, no masks allowed. I think that transitions nicely into something I wanted to talk about. COVID and sports. Now, obviously, we could talk about this every week, but I think the thing that's hitting for me this week, or the headline that grabbed my attention, number 10 Florida, a top 10 college football team, has had to hit pause on football with an upcoming game scheduled for this Saturday against the reigning national champion LSU Tigers, who are obviously having a little bit of a down year thus far. Florida on pause, double-digit, multiple COVID positives. This seems like every week in college football, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I know Houston had to wait almost a month to have a game, and I'm a Pac-12 football fan, and so I'm actually sitting back here thinking about the Pac-12, thinking about the Big Ten, who waited till they had a stricter testing protocol in place, who waited till they had a better test in place. And I'm like, so what? We had to wait longer for football, but what if no games get canceled? What if nobody has to shut down their program? What if no players test positive for COVID? I think that's a win, even if they end up playing less games, although if games get canceled, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I still think the Pac-10 guy or the Pac-12 guys are going to test positive. I just think it's inevitably going to happen. I think when you're playing this sort of game and you're talking about collegiate athletics, you're just playing the numbers, man. You're asking thousands of people in the collective to be responsible adults at college. I think the more telling thing is with all this is happening. I mean, I guess I'm surprised that we're actually postponing. Like, I don't know where I'm at. Like, I mean, each week it becomes more and more eerie as the numbers rise and as people die and as some people, or some states see, rapid increase. We kind of just plug along. People are trying to add more and more fans to stadiums. DeSantis in Florida making an election push to, allow full capacity. It's just like we're just plowing right along. So I guess at least they're taking the time. And Alex, I hope the Pac-12 does it right. I hope there's zero tests. I'm hoping for everything. I'm hoping that when these next seasons come around and it's time to bring back sports, I still don't think we're going to have crowds. If we do, I hope it's done safely, but I just hope we can have even just in general seasons safely, NFL, college football, because I'm a Notre Dame fan. They had to take weeks off because they were infected. You know what I mean? If you're a Patriots fan, Cam Newton, I mean, it's touching everything. Major League Baseball, almost everywhere except the bubble teams, NHL and NBA.
Yeah, places where they completely put a bubble in place. And yep. I think actually I was maybe being a little overzealous when I'm saying, I think the Pac-12 or the Big Ten will have no positive cases. Yeah. I just think with the rapid test, I think they get a 10, 15-minute turnaround. Then they can contact trace and shut things down. They may not have to miss games. And they may keep – it's just so funny that we talk in a currency of how many games do they have to miss? What has to get moved around as opposed to how many kids get sick? I know we're like, they're young, they're healthy, but that's not always the case. Like, shit can go down. Young people can deal with long-term issues or we don't actually know long-term issues, yet we're still worried more about, in Florida, packing stadiums, or two, how can we make the schedule work? How can we get these games going? How can we get the Saints? The Saints are trying to play in Baton Rouge because the Superdome, the mayor of New Orleans said, hey, no, you guys can't have people in the stadium. And they're still trying to find a way to play somewhere with fans, yet they've got teams in their own league that have had to postpone, miss games, and are getting COVID.
Yeah, just I mean, I feel like I've mentioned this a couple times, but just look at Freddie Freeman of the Atlanta Braves and Von Miller of the Denver Broncos. You know, these are two highly athletic, you know, individuals that are very healthy, and they detailed their experiences with COVID, and it's gnarly. Both of them said they were praying to God and they thought they were going to die. Both have detailed the, you know, lasting effects of it, and it seems to be pretty serious. So, and it's touching everybody. The Elkhart area. My uncle just got COVID a couple days ago, and his wife is over 70, I believe, with asthma. And that's in Elkhart County in Indiana, which is having a surge in hospitalizations. So I was here 7 months ago saying, you know, it's going to touch everybody eventually because we don't give a shit in this country. And we don't. You know, it didn't touch my family until this week, but it did. And it's an inevitability because it's a numbers game. You know what I mean? And these colleges are a great example of it. It's everywhere, and we're just becoming numb to it. And that's problematic. Big time.
And you seem like a guy, like, just based on your story when we were off the air, but the story you told about going to the Bellagio for dinner, yesterday or the other day, you said that was one of the first times you'd really gone out in public or done anything like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was the first time I, you know, covered some ground. It was the first time that I had actually, you know, went down to the strip really and had a meal. I've been downtown a little bit here and there. But no, I mean, I go weeks without going out. Not because I'm scared or anything. I just want to do my part more than anything. There's really nothing to do. Like, it just kind of feels stupid. I mean, there's nothing really cool to do. There's no music festivals. There's no, like, gatherings. There's no, like, true late night scenes that are – I mean, I'll go out and eat here and there, meet with people. But, yeah, I tell you this one thing I did see at the Bellagio. Bellagio security was unbelievable. Now – that's partly, I think, in reason to the amount of shootings that Vegas is happening. I actually drove by the Planet Hollywood shooting on my way down there, and I was joking with my buddy. He's a hedge fund guy from Manhattan, and he had never visited Vegas before. And I was like, well, buddy, you're in for a real treat because it's a different city right now. I said there's basically been a shooting every night. We were driving down the boulevard, and we passed a shooting 30 minutes after.
That's crazy.
I just got done saying that. But that's not the security I'm talking about. The Bellagio security that I'm talking about was the mask patrol. They were they were posted up everywhere. Like, if you had your mask down across your face, they were coming over to you and politely asking you to put it on, which made me really happy. I'll tell you what one dude did, though, and it took every fiber of my being not to smack the shit out of him. Security politely came up and asked him to put his mask on, and all he did was put a cigarette in his mouth and look right at him. Because they can't ask you to put your mask up if you're smoking. Ban cigarettes everywhere. I like weed. I mean, I can't smoke it anywhere, and I can't smoke it in a casino. But if let's say in a hypothetical that I could for the last 60 years, but I knew it was also an inconvenience to people, and during this time people were using it as a cop-out not to wear a mask because they're being bitches, I'd be okay with them canceling it. Stop being selfish. Cancel this shit. 12 years ago, when I first moved out here, I dealt blackjack at the El Cortez. I might still be dealing blackjack in the city of Las Vegas, if not for the fact that for 8 hours a day, I had people blowing smoke right into my fucking face. And now people like that guy are using, like, cigarettes as a shield so they can be dickheads. Okay.
I was curious the angle you were going to take on the anti-smoking, because I thought you seemed like a smoke and let smoke kind of guy. Smoke them if you got them.
No, man.
Live.
No, man, I'm a polite guy. That shit was disgusting. I grew up with my mom smoked, and the shit was gross. I go to school, and it was still in my hair. It's just a massive inconvenience. It stays on your clothes for days. And then there's the whole, like, secondhand smoke thing that, you know, kills people. It's just stupid. And Vegas is the worst for it. It's terrible. You know what I mean? It just, I mean.
Yeah. Vegas is, like, the one place where I'm like.
Yeah. And then
there's
Vegas. There is a Vegas spirit in me, right? Do whatever the fuck you want. Consequences be damned. This in city, this is, you know, where people can be and let be. There would be blowback. There's unquestionably would be blowback. But I don't know, man. I look at it generationally, and like I said, I am kind of a, smoke and let smoke sort of guy, right? But it's just, yeah, I think we're moving past it, and I'm okay with that too, because some things just aren't that important. But yeah, that drove me crazy seeing him use that as a shield and armor for the anti-mask. You're not being cute. It's like the people that were carrying the card, like, I'm medically unable to wear a mask, and you can't ask because of HIPAA laws. Shut up. It's a napkin over your face. Calm down.
Because I was going to post to you the question. If there were people in the stands for if you're a Chicago sports fan, right? So Bears, Blackhawks, what, Cubs or White Sox?
Sox, Bulls, Notre Dame. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if there were people in the stands for your favorite team and there was limited capacity, 25%, whatever, would you go? But it sounds like you say fuck no.
No, and it's not even, dude, it's just like my mom's really excited about sports being back, right? And hey, the Bears are 4-1, and I'm watching. I'll always be a sports fan. But I have a real, just eerie feeling about all this. There's a guilt that comes along with watching sports right now. And if you don't feel that, I don't know, man. Reassess, do some critical thinking, think about your life and your choices. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe I'm the sport. I don't know, dude. It's just it gives me a weird feeling watching sports. And it's not so much – it's kind of what we're co-signing. We're kind of co-signing that we're acknowledging life is back to normal when it's definitely not back to normal, right? Nothing is normal right now. We're leading the world in these cases, in deaths, in cases. We're a developed country heading into a really important election, right? And I know it's not just me who feels it, but about the 25% capacity, the 10% capacity, yes, counties are hurting. The truth is, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 6 months ago, we should have been on top of this. We should have actually stayed at home. We shouldn't have let states like Florida run rampant and other states run rampant. We should have made better decisions, and we should have had a plan. We didn't. We should, what I'm saying, is be over this by now, and we shouldn't even be having this conversation. But since we are, and we are talking about holding live sporting events in the middle of a pandemic with 25 or 10% or 50% fan capacity, it's not even just about those fans that are there, right? It's about the people that have to work the games. You have to travel on the road, so then you go into gas stations. You have to trade germs. You have to be out. You have to be interacting in society. And by that happening, this is spreading. So, again, you're asking me a personal question. Would I go to Vegas Golden Knights games as a Vegas Golden Knights season ticket holder if they opened up T-Mobile? In the current way it is right now, absolutely not. I'm going to go up and buy fucking nachos. I'm going to go up and hand a card, to the person at the parking garage. Why would I want people out there working? Pay people. The government needs more stimulus checks. We need rent forgiveness. We need eviction forgiveness. We need a plan, right? And I just, man. Yeah, I don't know. It's just a really weird time to be a sports fan. But Alex, don't you feel that? You're a sports nut. You love Oregon State. You love all of these, the California. But I'm just saying, don't you feel a bit of that as we watch and support sports right now, as we're kind of acknowledging this thing just continuing on month after month?
Yeah, for a couple of different reasons. And I posed that question because I was kind of having the same debate internally I'll use Oregon State football as the example, because that's something that since I graduated, I try to make a point to go to one game a year, go up for one game a year. Pac-12 already said no fans and stands this season, but obviously it's a college town. There's going to be tailgating. There's going to be people around. There's going to be some kind of watch parties. And I was talking to my parents, who are also big Oregon State fans, and my dad was like, oh, man, should we try to go up there and tailgate? And then when my dad, who's obviously in an at-risk category, said that, that's when I was like, I don't want you guys going. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I was just checking the box of every risk I would have to take. Not to mention the people that, as you said, and I'm not even talking about go to the game, because I already was like, no game. I wouldn't go. Because I have a friend who's an Oregon Ducks fan, and they're supposed to be good this year. He was like, oh, if they opened that up, I'd be up there in a heartbeat. But I'm just even talking about just going and being close to the arena. I'm just like, you know what? I could sit this one out and watch on TV this year.
Yeah. You guys not good for – if you're not good for – okay, if we would have been good with a couple months ago, we'd be good right now. Like, we have to take a long-term approach. And I mean, not to cut you off, buddy, but I think that's essentially, what we're getting to. Yes, Brady, you can have my tickets.
Well, we have to take a long-term approach because we fucked up the short-term approach.
Exactly.
Like now we have to take the long-term approach.
And it's clear that if something changes, it won't be until January, until inauguration day. And even then, we're going to need a padding to get a plan in place. So, and if you think the dude who's been controlling the plan so far is going to actually have one, if he gets reelected, you're drinking ayahuasca. I don't know what to tell you. You're out of your fucking mind.
Yeah, you're on an ayahuasca trip talking to your ancestors. Yeah, no, man. And I just to echo something you said too, it's that refrain that we hear a lot.
Is it Chiefs versus Raiders ticks?
I want to talk. We're going to talk about that in a minute because we're going to talk about best 4-1 teams.
Yeah,
and I'm shocked the Chiefs are 4-1. And I want to get to that in just a minute. But yeah. I just on politics, to echo your point, Big Mac, I hear a lot of that around here as well. It's great that the Saints are trying to play in Baton Rouge because that's people's jobs. They need that money. There's people that work for the stadium. There's It's like, you know what? Okay, so all these people, all these essential workers, and if a stadium is reopening and there's games, whether it's Arrowhead or whether it's, the Swamp down at University of Florida, which obviously isn't going to be open this weekend because football's on pause there due to COVID. If these workers, they become essential and they have to go work, the real solution, as you said, is more stimulus. It's a bailout for the people. It's a bailout for Main Street, not Wall Street. And it's enough to keep the boat afloat during this time. But for some reason, the powers that be think that the answer is to just force those people to go back to work.
And they do it willingly. That's the issue. I feel for everyone. Of course, people need to get back to work. Of course, small businesses need to be open. Again, if we would have had a plan like the majority of every other country reacting to this, right? If we wouldn't have had the leadership we had, this would have been over at some point in the summer. Take your pick. We respond in February, March. Maybe it's over in May, June, maybe July, maybe August at the latest, right? And then you would have properly had stimulus money, $1,200 every 2 weeks, every month, whatever, eviction, rent moratorium. You could have figured it out and we would have been done with it a couple months ago. That's it. We wouldn't even been talking about it right now. It would have been over. No more stimulus checks, right? Yeah. We need more people for small businesses like the Lakers. Actually, the Lakers, Truth from Duluth saying that's stupid. We need more PPP for small businesses like the Lakers. The Lakers actually did a great job taking care of their employees during the pandemic, and they do a great job with their employees, but it's a fair point. But no, it is about, Alex demanding change and demanding. I mean, if this thing isn't perfectly clear right now with us here in America as sports fans and just everyday people, they don't care about us.
Yeah, it's obvious.
Yeah,
it's obvious.
Yeah.
Oh, and just to answer your previous question too, talking about, do you feel a little guilty as a sports fan? Do you feel a little weird? Really, where I feel the most guilty is my reaction to college football coming back and getting all geeked up about that. And then my doubling down on that when I saw that Pac-12, who was the last one to come back, when they're coming back. And I'm like, oh, I got it. I got giddy. Hell yeah. This has been a staple of my fall. This has been a staple of my fall viewing habits for as long as I can remember. But then you look into it. Oh, how are they bringing it back? They're getting these rapid testing machines. They're getting these tests that no one really has access to besides these football players or these basketball players. So why do all these D1 football players get these rapid tests and our essential workers don't? Our teachers and students don't. Everyone's freaking out, rightfully so, about kids not being in school. Oh, it's money. It's money. But that's when I feel guilty. It's like, oh shit, here we have kids at this important moment, at this important juncture of their lives to be, to learn social skills, to be socialized with their friends, to be, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 grades. Those years, those are like dog years for kids, and they're not in school. So imagine if instead of helping the USC Trojans get back on the field to play 7 games, we were able to get high school kids at the LA Unified School District back in high school.
No way, dude. Testing. No way. Too much compassion. too much empathy, too much critical thinking. You care too much about other people, Alex. We don't do that in America.
Exactly.
You're thinking about the greater good. You're thinking about the whole. You're thinking about high school and middle school kids, man. Fuck them kids. Fuck them kids, Alex. And their memories and their experiences. No, seriously, on a serious tip, do you know how furious I would be if I was like a freshman or a senior right now? I guess the flip side is you wouldn't know what you were missing. But since I had, experiences for all those grades and how amazing they were and the experiences I got, I'm just trying to like think back about how furious I would be, which is essentially what you're doing, Alex. They don't know what they're missing out on, but we do. And it's bullshit.
Yeah. And it's, the whole school thing is wild, man. I feel for those kids. At the same time, here locally, our high schools in this district where I live were actually supposed to open on Monday, a hybrid system. They were supposed to open on Monday. Mm-hmm. And then the district said, we're pushing it back indefinitely. We're not ready. And that's fair. I mean, if they said they were going to be ready, should they have been? Yes. But also, I think moving in to use the term of the times, an abundance of caution, why not? But I've got parents here, and I live in Orange County, which is home to the most helicopter-y of all helicopter parents. And I have heard through the grapevine that they are pulling their kids from the public schools, which are great here. They're sending them to the private schools, which are open, but are still only allowing 2 hours a day of instruction. And they're paying like $30,000 a year for that. So I'm like, is that even helping the kids have a better experience? Now it sounds like you're moving around like you're your piece on the chessboard, So, but I get it too from the parents' point of view. It's just a lose-lose. It sucks. But that's going back to your original point. Yeah, when I watch sports and I think about what's going into making the bubble happen or to make college football happen and the risks being taken, I feel a little.
Hold on. Sorry, Alex. Sorry.
Go.
That's the thing is you said making the bubble happen. That's the fucked up thing is the NCAA has the money to make a bubble for every single team and they won't do it because, again, they don't care about us. Even if you're the leading A+ 5-star wide recruit receiver for Alabama, they don't care about you. Even if you're making hundreds of millions of dollars every decade like Alabama and Clemson and Florida State and Notre Dame do, they don't care about you. The NCAA could absolutely have something in place to make this safe, and they won't do it because they don't care about you. The only thing they care about, and I learned this back when I was in college, and I wish I would have learned it sooner, and I was just a student paying thousands of dollars to go there. They didn't give a shit about me. They don't care. They don't care about your education. They don't follow up. They don't guide you. You're just a number. You're just a bank account. And as long as the pipeline is there, and the pipeline is there, Alex, and they have a stranglehold that is an absolute monopoly with no competition, no anything, and they run roughshod. And then, get into Penn State, Michigan State, Notre Dame, and all the other things that get buried and all the horrible shit that happens at those universities. Yeah. It's a dirty feeling. And I don't know if it's the time and place with the way sports is right now, if there's a reckoning happening. Like, do you see what is happening?
I actually have an interesting NCAA story that was just brought to my attention yesterday by my younger brother, who's a student at U of O. He's a senior.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what to do with this story because I actually think it would be an interesting story to pitch to a news outlet. So my brother worked for the track team. As first he was doing some student manager stuff, and then he was doing social media, doing some of the content that they put out on their IG, Twitter, whatever, for track and cross country. Obviously, University of Oregon track and cross country is the pinnacle. That's like a college where track is getting probably one of the only schools where track and cross country are getting nearly as much attention as football. So I was stoked for him. He's passionate about it. He stopped working as much with the team, and he started shooting videos on his own because he was super tight with the runners. So this summer with COVID, things shut down. They're actually not allowed to practice. Him and the other runners on the team started making content. He started a YouTube channel. He got it up to like 30 or 40K subscribers this summer, monetized it, was making like a couple grand a month off his YouTube, which if you're a college kid, he told me, and I was like, holy shit, you're like making more money than me right now making content. That's insane. So stoked for him. And then last week, the powers that be at the track program called a meeting with him, basically said, shut this down, demonetize the channel. You no longer are affiliated with us. And if you don't, we're going to send a cease and desist letter and we're going to start proceedings to get you kicked out of the university. And I was like, one, that makes sense. I wasn't surprised, but their angle, which is it just doubles down. It just reiterates what we already know, which is They said, these are our athletes. They're in our stable. You don't get to make money off them. You don't, even though they love it. My brother's making videos for them to post, creating content for them. They said, no. They belong to us. You're fired. Stop.
Pimps. Yes.
Exactly.
And that's why that South Park episode was so great when Cartman and it was the NCAA and the EA Sports video game.
So
and
good.
He was like, oh, yes, I'm sorry. Independent contractors. And he was playing the Colonel Sanders Southern, plantation owner, slave trader, Calvin Candy character. Yeah, man. The NCAA needs a complete overhaul. Defund the NCAA.
For real, dude.
No, I mean, there needs to be serious eyeballs and conversations about what the NCAA is, the way the athletes are handled. It's an imperfect system, I'll grant that, but it's dirty like politics, right? The amount of money and boosters and political moves and happenings, and it's all built off the blacks and sweat. A young kids. I was talking to my buddy. Before the show went live. My buddy is in town, hedge fund manager in Manhattan. Doing really well now in his life. One of my actual good friends that actually turned out okay. But he was I went to a big high school in Indiana, 5A, like 3,400 in the school. Like 900, 1,000 graduating class.
Wow.
John Carvelli, everything South Park does is great. Anyway, really big school, couple NFL players, a few D1 guys, big wrestling school too. But varsity football was a big deal, right? Freshmen never got on varsity. My buddy was the only freshman to make varsity our freshman year, and he didn't even really like football. He just liked sports. Anyway, he was just telling me, I remember he got his shoulder ripped up sophomore year, and he did it for that team. And everybody in that squad, the coach was Gatorade Coach of the Year. Like, they made six figures. It was a huge moneymaker in our area. Stadium sold out. Friday night light shit, right? Going to breakfast. My two best friends were the star wide receiver and the star running back. We'd go to breakfast, and locals would just come up and slob on them. It was disgusting.
Wild.
My point is, my buddy, the guy who actually, again, was not either the running back or the wide receiver, he actually played safety. He was the only one to make varsity when we were freshmen. He gave everything to that school for those 4 years. He never went on to play college. He went on to IU, went to the Kelly School of Business, and then landed at JP Morgan, and now he's a millionaire. But he ripped up his shoulder, got multiples of concussions, and a painkiller addiction. Like, he was talking about how much he still enjoys Percocet, like having real conversations. We hadn't seen each other in a few years, but then we were talking about how football essentially caused that, right? Like how that was what introduced him to recovery, rehab, painkillers at an early age, and what he gave and the sort of system that is football. They don't care about you, athletics, education at the collegiate level. They don't give a shit about you at the public level or at our high schools here in Vegas or in Orange County.
They don't. No, they don't. They don't. Defund the NCAA. I totally agree.
Well, I hope you're doing well, Truth from Duluth, saying I went to the Kelly School of Business. So good for me.
I got to respond to a comment.
Mark Cuban too, I think.
From Brady. Oh, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Brady asked me earlier if I was a Wayne Tinkle stan, the Oregon State men's hoops coach. And I am. But also when I went there, I covered the hoops team for the paper, and it was Michelle Obama's brother, Craig Robinson, was the coach. Not the best coach, but a dope coach to cover. He's like friends with Obama, right? So he just gave great quotes. He was a great press conference guy. Loved the student press, and it was fun. So yeah, I'm a Wayne Tinkle stan, but I'll always be partial to Craig Robinson, who I think actually failed upwards. He got let go by Oregon State. Now I think he's has a front office position with the Bucks or the Knicks. Either way, I'm sure he's making more money with 1,000 times less pressure. So good for him.
At the end of the day, he knows Obama, so I think he'll be all right. It's not like if he gets fired, he's going to be hard out.
We were talking earlier, I think actually before we were live on the Real podcast, but talking about people like you saw OJ at a Knights game. Yeah. And Obama, OJ, Michael Jordan, there's a really small percentile of people that actually would make you kind of stop in your tracks and be like, oh my God. And I even feel like covering Craig Robinson when I was 21 and being a college student and just being like, dude, that guy could just call Obama right now. Like that would always trip me out. Now, and yeah, I don't know who else is in that little circle, but there's like a dozen celebrities that would just
I feel like I put like Mike Tyson in there just because of like face stat.
Yeah, Mike Tyson.
I like Mike Tyson, but yeah.
Michael Jackson if he was still alive.
Who?
Michael Jackson if he wasn't, deceased, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. He'd definitely draw some eyeballs if he popped up now. I would.
Yeah.
People would pay attention.
Okay, let's talk about the NFL because you're a Bears fan, and we need to talk about the Bears being 4-1. But I wanted to I posed this question, and I think the answer is obvious, but I want to hear what you say first. Big Mac, Bears are 4-1. Who's the best 4-1? Because there's a logjam of 4-1 teams in the NFL. Who's the best 4-1 team in the NFL? Bills, Ravens, Browns, Chiefs, Bears, Rams. The answer is obvious to me. Who would you say best 4-1?
Yeah, not the Bears. That's your first answer.
Okay, so you're reasonable. You're critical.
Bears are the worst 4-1 team in the history of the NFL. Don't care. It's awesome. BDN, slanging and banging in Club Dub. I love it. Yeah, it's the Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs. Yeah, okay, obvious.
100%
yeah.
the Chiefs. Unless Pat Mahomes evaporated into thin air overnight. And they're going to be the best team. Sorry, Patrick. They're going to be the best team, for quite some time. I mean, barring any injury. But it's exciting. I mean, it's certainly nice to see some new faces in the group. Browns, obviously the Browns, yeah.
That's sarcasm from Brady.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, the Browns are better than the Bears. So, again, Bears down here, Bears down here, Chiefs and Mahomes up here.
Well, the Chiefs and Mahomes fucked me up on Sunday, because, so I'm a Raiders fan. Not as diehard as other teams I'm fans of, but I pull for the Raiders #1 in the NFL, and I'm in a survivor pool, and I had made it to whatever week 5, which is pretty good for me. Usually I'm out in the first couple weeks, and I saw the Chiefs left, and I was like, this is a no-brainer. Now I'm out of the survivor pool. Don't pick against your own team.
Yeah.
And then you're just conflicted the whole game.
Also, don't pick for your team. Don't pick for your team. It's one of the first rules in handicapping. Don't never bet your own teams. I
learned that the hard way.
Oh yeah, we all do. We all do. The problem with me is I actually had smart people around me growing up for a very early age that were really good handicappers, and they gave me really good advice. And I still had to learn the hard way with that one. It took me a good 10 years to stop. I mean, now there's nothing you could do to get me to bet my team. And when it's in a really big game, like I think back to the Bears in the NFC Championship in 2010 against the Packers, I don't need any amount of money on that game at all. Win or lose, like I'm on it. Like if they win, oh my God, I'm partying until the sun comes up. And if they lose, I hate football. So
yeah, you don't need any extra motivation. No. I feel that. I used to almost, and this is so stupid, bet exclusively on my teams. And that's just terrible. It's terrible.
There is something. Hold on. I will say this. One of the people who was very instrumental in I don't even handicap that much, but he was probably a big reason why. Not because he was a loser. He's actually a lifetime winner. Actually, he was very understated and he was very methodical. So I really respected the work ethic he put into handicapping, and I never wanted to put that much work ethic into anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was psychotic with it.
Go finish your thought.
What I was going to say is he would bet his own team, but he would often bet against them. Like two of his teams that he watched as a fan were Notre Dame and the Cubs. And if he felt there was an inflation or something, there was a weakness, he would absolutely bet against his own teams. And I love that. I love that because he took emotion out of it. And I'm sure it hurt him to see, Notre Dame get beat. He was a South Bend local, went to Penn High School, born and raised in South Bend, like South Bend diehard Notre Dame fan. But when it came to money, when it came to units, he didn't care. So yeah, story.
Let me ask you this, because you're a Vegas guy.
Yeah.
You're a Vegas insider, so to speak. What you said your friend that he had an incredible work ethic when it came to handicapping. I've always been like, I want to put the work in. I want to get a little bit better. I don't even know where to like. Where do you start? Where do you start? I feel like I'm so outside. I'm so I just lose all the time. I love sports betting. I just lose all the time. Like, where do you start?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd have to ask him. He's unfortunately passed away a few years ago. I mean, he started in the '60s. He was like a mathematics whiz, like a chess guy, a strategy guy, but like he never used a calculator, like a real crazy brain. Like I said, methodical, not nowhere near me. We were polar opposites, but he helped raise me, and he was, like I said, he was really close to me. But he started in the '60s just because he didn't want a real job. But then he had such an ego that he hated losing. But he also knew, especially in the '60s, '70s, and '80s, lines could be exploited. There were edges, especially if you did your homework. Analytics before analytics, right?
Mm-hmm.
But oftentimes, and it still is this way today, he exploited the lines that, maybe, well, not maybe, but like wherever there was an edge, he was bound to find it, right? So if it was just an offshoot, North Dakota State, whatever the case may be, like, I don't know, but he would bet very under the radar games, right? He would find those edges in those games, and then he would hammer them. He had a real disregard for money. So I know he bet heavy. I remember him talking on the phone back in the day. He would be using coded language, and like I eventually figured out the numbers and how much he was betting, but it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it was having a healthy disregard for money. When you had an edge, you hammered it. You didn't get emotional. You never bet your own teams. You never bet parlays because they're for suckers. Too many things that play too much emotion. If you're actually doing your homework, then you only need to bet once. Like it was just, he had a lot of different things and things that he employed, but over the years, I respected it enough to where I don't really, I mean, I'll mess around. I live in Vegas. I love sports. I'll bet, right? But there are a lot of servers and service people, and I'm not knocking any of them, that came out here thinking they were going to be professional gamblers, and it just doesn't go that way. And honestly, at least in my experiences, the really good ones, you never hear about. Again, I know, this guy helped raise me. He drove a 1991 Honda Civic with no fucking radio from Indiana to Vegas every year to do stuff with lines and have communications and stuff, right? But he would do that cross trip with no radio. Like, he was crazy.
Bro.
And again, the 91 Honda, the Civic, he had until like 2008. And he had lots of money. You know what I mean? But he never talked about it. It just, that's what he chose to do with his life. And then he would reinvest it in the stock market. But I'm just saying, he was just very methodical, very understated, did the homework. Everything was handwritten notes. He had stacks of binders and statistics and analytics that were just piled up next to him. And I would just see that. And it was psychotic. He was up at like 4 a.m. every morning. By 1 o'clock, he was done, and he'd be like hammered. But like, that was just, it was like a level of stress. He, like, for a guy who never wanted to have a boss, and I respect that. Like, I respect doing it yourself and having that drive and operating in a world that is exciting. And I love sports, but for a big reason because of that. The work, again, it took to be really good at it. It's hard, man. So I don't know. Like, you asked me, like, where do you start? Yeah. You see the 20-leg hand-to-hand parlay that pays for the dollar that hit and won $650,000, right? And who knows how much that person had put into that throughout their lifetime. Those are the stories that keep people betting parlays. And listen, I'm not shaming anybody who does. I do them too. Like, they're fun. His concept was, if you have, though, something you're confident on and you've done your homework, right? You hammer that line. You hammer that game you believe in. And when you add other elements to it, you're just hurting your return. That's all it really is, right?
That makes sense.
Like, I'm a serious blackjack player, right? Like, I've been playing well for 20 years, and I wouldn't just say that. Like, I'm okay, right? I employ a similar thing to blackjack, right? Like, parlays are, for me, kind of like if I go down to El Cortez and play $2 blackjack and I'm just fucking around and I'm splitting 20s or doing ridiculous shit, right? Just like totally off the wall. I'm having fun. I'm there for a free Budweiser. But oftentimes I'm there at 2 o'clock in the morning at Sunset Station when there's no tourists there to mess up my hands. I never play on the weekends. I always play 3 to 2. I make sure it's a 6-deck shoe. I don't use continuous shoes. You know what I mean? Like, the majority of the time when I'm playing blackjack, I'm there to win money. I treat it methodically. I treat it there as an investment, as a business. I have a healthy disregard for money. I've put the work in with blackjack, and I feel comfortable there. I treat it, again, like I'm there as business. He did that with sports betting, right? He wasn't there for fun. So in back to the parlay, not to offend anybody who loves parlays, right? He thought they were sucker bets, and I understood his logic. I'll do them, but when I do them, I fully acknowledge that I'm probably pissing my money away and I'm just doing it for fun. And remember how often you hit that $600 parlay or that $2,000 parlay. You hold on to that. What's that line in Rounders? You never remember the good wins. It's always the bad beats, right? It's kind of like the opposite with sports betting. You never remember the bad beats, but you just remember that one win that keeps you funneling money into parlays for 20 years. Yes, Brady saying Vegas sports books are built on parlays. He's right, though. Vegas sports books are built on parlays and penny machines. Everyone sees the totals in penny machines, and they're like, why does everyone spend money? Because they go over and they hit max bet, and it's like $3 a spin, and they think they're betting a penny. And then they just sit there like, man, my money goes fast. That 20 goes fast in the penny machine. It's because you don't know what you're doing. Right? Same thing applies to sports betting. You don't know what you're doing. The only difference is I know enough to say I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm doing, so I don't piss my money away at it. I have fun with it, but I don't use it as an investment. I have one game, and that's blackjack. And unfortunately, we don't talk about that on Cofield and Company.
I've got two lines I want to hammer just because this is what I know in terms of sports, but I've got the University of Oregon Ducks win total. Last time I saw it was over under around 6. I'm hammering the under on that, but am I betting with my heart because they're
because they're not going to play 8 games.
but I can't believe it's set at 6. Like I'm like, okay, yeah, they've got a new quarterback replacing Justin Herbert, and they've got a first round offensive tackle who opted out.
Dude, all I know about you is you're an Oregon State fan who's betting the Oregon Ducks on the under for the season. That doesn't seem like an emotional decision to you.
That's what I'm saying. That's the problem. That's the problem. Because in my head, I'm like, where can I find a rookie to hammer this under with?
All right. So with the spirit of emotional decisions, back to the 4-1 teams real quickly, because it is unquestionably the best 4-1 team in the NFL are the Kansas Chiefs.
Yeah.
The worst team in the NFL by far who's 4-1 are the Chicago Bears, but that could all change. And I use that as a segue because I want to jump to Le'Veon Bell.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, the first person I thought of was Steve and all the Jets fans out there, Cofield.
It's gotta suck, dude.
Oh, it's like the Bears piss me off, but at least they try in the right ways, right? Like, yeah, you mortgage your whole future, or at least your foreseeable future to move up one pick in the draft to take Mitch Trubisky, and you sacrifice Mahomes and all that, but you also go out and you pay the money for Khalil Mack, something the Raiders didn't want to do. Right now, you can argue the situations that they're in, but they did the same thing with Cutler. They try to make impacts. Now, are they good? It doesn't always work out, but again, the NFC Championship in 2010, they've had the division title, a year ago, 2 years ago. They are trying to win. I don't know what the Jets are trying to do. Like, I don't know how this happened for the Jets. The decisions that they make on a yearly basis to me are baffling. They're actually talking about the Jets right now on my ESPN, which is a little behind. It's Alex, I don't understand it. And it has to suck to be a fan because now you're left with crazy eyes Gase. You have no idea what the future holds. And if this was a Gase decision, my God, help you. There is no excuse. I know Le'Veon Bell hasn't been that successful in New York, right? I'm not even particularly a Le'Veon Bell guy, right? But he is an asset. The guy can play the position. And there's no excuse for not having somewhat of a return on him and not utilizing the way they did. So the question begs, now that he's a free agent, where does he land? And I talk about that worst 4-1 team in the NFL, and I know I'm wearing the shirt, but if you think about it, a logical place where he could land, I think there's 2 places for me where I can see Le'Veon Bell landing in the next few weeks. Chicago, because Tariq Cohen, their utility / backup running back / sometimes starting, running back, goes down with a season-ending injury. And their lead running back right now, David Montgomery, the second-year guy, has been serviceable, but probably not what they're looking for. You've got to think Le'Veon Bell can come in and on some level come into a winning situation behind a serviceable line and with a pretty decent offense at different points, right, behind Nick Foles. certainly with a good defense, and maybe make an impact, right? And then I think the other logical one. Sorry, Alex, I'll let you go, but the New England Patriots. I just think, yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like with the Bears, it's like, oh shit, we're 4-1.
Yeah.
Let's do something here. Like, let's make a move. Like, let's capitalize on this. And it's a weird season. Who knows what's gonna happen? Roll the dice. Sign a Le'Veon.
Right. And
there's a third team.
Yeah, well, you also got to think that he's going to be looking for a place to win. He wants to be looking for a system to where he'll be utilized. I think that fits Chicago. And here's the other thing. Yeah, there's not going to be any fans, but the Bears still play outdoors. And it's going to be getting cold. And running has always been hand in hand with Chicago. I know running isn't as much of a focal point in today's NFL. I understand that, right? Especially when you can throw deep and get PI on half the plays. Still, it is going to, the winds are going to be swirling. The fans won't be in there to cut the weather, which I know you're probably thinking like, what are you talking about? Listen, anyone who's been to games in Soldier Field or really cold places, like the beer freezes in there. You have to drink it before you get to your seat. It's really cold. Someday.
Yeah, I don't even know what that's like. I have no idea what that's like.
5,000 fans yelling and screaming and rubbing bodies and cutting the wind. It's going to be even colder at Soldier Field. So maybe a running attack with Le'Veon Bell, David Montgomery, and they've been ciphering in Cordero Patterson. I mean, it seems like a logical fit for him. And yeah, New England, I think, is a possibility because, again, I think Bell's going to want to go somewhere where he's going to win. And I don't know I have no idea what's going to happen, but I'm shocked at the Jets with the decisions they're making. And yeah, saying no one man is bigger than the team. You know what, Alex? That was their official statement. Maybe there's something we don't know. You know, maybe there's.
The Jets to me are just the classic. They're the classic misguided franchise, and it starts at ownership.
Yep.
It starts with Woody Johnson, who's currently under investigation by the State Department following allegations that he made racist and sexist remarks while being Trump's ambassador to the United Kingdom.
Shocking.
And I saw it with my LA Clippers for most of the time I was alive. No matter how good your talent is, if your ownership isn't there, if your organization, like a fish rots from the head, right? The apple, you gotta have a solid core. Actually, I don't know if that's a saying. I just made that one up. I don't know shit about the apple does not rot from the core. It actually rot. But anyway, my point being, Adam Gase, there's a lack of continuity is not even the right word because there is continuity. It's the wrong kind of continuity. Yeah. But I think it starts with the owner, Woody Johnson, and there's no consistency in terms of decision making. And to me, it was summed up in the Jets Thursday night game against the Broncos earlier this year. Sam Darnold took a shot, played well in that game overall, had that amazing touchdown run, took a shot, missed most of a series. Flacco was in. It's 3rd and long. Darnold comes trotting out of the locker room after getting examined. They put him in the game on 3rd and long. They don't let I think a normal coach, I think under normal circumstances here in this game, in the second quarter, by the way, you let Flacco finish out the series. There's something to be said about a rhythm a quarterback gets in. They put Darnold in the game, and he gets sacked. Like, you know who does that? Losing organizations make decisions like that. And I feel for Sam Darnold. He's a local kid here from Orange County. He was a superstar at USC, and I just don't think he's ever going to get his full potential to shine.
Yeah. Those poor, pretty white USC quarterbacks.
They can never get a break. They can never get a break.
They have such good stature. They have such a great mind for the game. Fuck USC.
They have great hair.
Yeah. That's really where it stems from. That's really all it is. It's just the fact that I'm a bald man and Carson Palmer, Matt Leiter,
I'm so sorry.
And Sam Darnold have incredible heads of hair, and I can't deal with their beauty. There might be some truth to that. I think I need to take a deeper look at myself as a college football fan.
I think you were like a John David Booty fan. I think he had the worst hairline of all the SC quarterbacks the last 20 years.
Worst hairline, best name. Lives in infamy.
I believe it's his nephew is a quarterback here in Orange County High School, and his name is General Booty. It's incredible. I'm going to double check that right now to make sure that's not just something.
I mean, they're either assholes or they have incredible senses of humor, right? That's only you named me John David. I was really hoping you were going to come in like they got another double name. Like Freddy Bob, I don't know. Like, what is with double names? Where did that come from? Is that like an honor? Like, is it like a junior thing? Like, also, why aren't women juniors? I just thought about that. Like, someone blew my mind the other day. They're like, yeah, women are
true.
Yeah, the second of Angela Williams or like Jennifer Lopez the third. That shit would be tight. And like you'd be like with other fly girls, you could have like third generation fly girls, and I don't know. It's getting late.
I've always wondered that too. But yeah, just to confirm, General Booty is going to be a senior this year. He actually transferred to a school in Texas, but he is the nephew of John David Booty, General Booty.
There's a local story. That family, hilarious or assholes?
We need to look into it. The Booty fam.
There's something in the water.
Okay, I wanted to say this too. My team that I thought Le'Veon could end up on was the Chargers, because we're talking about the Bears, and I saw that this was going to be my segue. I saw this topic on local sports radio today. Are the Chargers the best? Are the 1 and 4 Chargers better than the 4-1 Bears?
Yes,
that was the 100%. Topic. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, good. You're a reasonable fan.
I mean, listen, the Bears have there is something happening with that team. I mean, it's great to see the comebacks and what they've been able to do and pull out wins by the absolute just acts of God. But that's what they were. I mean, this team could be 0-5. Like very easily, the Chicago Bears could be 0-5. Very easily. And I think there are positives there. They have a really good defense, right? But there's too much inconsistency there. By and large, and I haven't watched every minute of every Chargers game. I have watched every minute of every Bears game and every Raiders game. But aside from that, I haven't watched every minute of every Chargers game. But from what I've seen, man, Herbert and them have looked pretty freaking good. Like they seem like a capable football team that could, if they don't make a late push here and make up for their losses, they could definitely play spoiler and beat some good teams. You know what I mean?
No, I think they're legit.
Yeah.
And I think that's a team, but you did bring up the point Le'Veon Bell probably wants to go to a winner. And even though the Chargers look legit, they're still 1-4. They're still in the loaded AFC West. But I do think that they're a team that, with their injuries, I think they're a few pieces away from maybe really popping off. If they could, maybe they just play spoiler. But to me, Le'Veon Bell makes sense on the Chargers. I agree with you. I think we're more likely to see him go to a team that is already one piece away or is already looking towards the playoffs as being a real possibility, whereas the Chargers have a huge hill to climb.
Yeah.
Let's wrap up the late night happy hour talking about horror movies.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought this up. I'll let you plug the horror movie that you recently watched. But before that, I just wanted to say that when you mentioned horror movies in the email you sent, you seem like a guy that knows his way around the genre.
Okay.
Maybe that's just your look, though. Maybe that's just your look.
You look like you're an extra from The Devil's Rejects.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so it's weird because I have buddies that are like super horror fans, right? So I can never call myself a horror fan like that because I think of like my buddy Andreas Hale, the editor over at Sporting News, and like he gets into Japanese horror, all sorts of horror. Like he takes deep dive into horror. I am pop culture horror.
Okay, that's fair.
The big ones, right? Like grew up 80s horror, and then into the 90s with like the pop horror, like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and all that corny stuff. And then like I like the B movie stuff like Fright Night and like the random stuff from the 80s and the early 90s. But what I really liked growing up was like Lost Boys, Goonies, Monster Squad. You know, like those were, I mean, they were just kind of like Ghostbusters. I don't even know if those were like horror movies, but
no. Well, Ghostbusters is like my favorite movie of all time, and then Lost Boys and Goonies are right there. So whatever you call that genre, I'm with you. Supernatural, Supernatural, yeah, I love it.
Or like I don't even know what you call it, but it was great, right? And I feel like you would agree that there hasn't been many of those. I mean, like Stranger Things, Scream was great. But yeah, like there hasn't been any of those. Like I talk about Monster Squad. There hasn't been that, right? Like it's been 30, 40 years. Stranger Things kind of had that vibe, but that was a series.
But Stranger Things was also like set in that era. Like there's something about that era maybe that's hard to replicate because when you do see, and you see it sometimes on Netflix, there's sort of these throwback horror films. And they're almost always set in the 80s. So I agree with you. I don't think we've seen. I was talking about the other day. I was talking about filmmaking, and someone said like, if you could make any movie, what would you make? And I think I said something like Lost Boys. Like Lost Boys really to me is almost a perfect film, and it checks all these boxes. And I'm just like, we haven't had a movie like Lost Boys in a long time.
Have you seen Vampires vs. the Bronx?
No, I have not.
Okay, that is okay. So I do the Saturday show, Busted Open, with WWE Hall of Famer Mark Henry, and we do the final segment of every Saturday show, the final hour 3. We do the Mimosa Minute. You know, it's Saturday, it's brunch. People love their mimosas. Send them off into the weekend with something that they enjoy. So I gave them this week. It was Vampires versus the Bronx. I'm telling Vegas about it now. It's on Netflix. If you guys like. It's like Monster Squad. It's like those 80s classic kid teen horror movies, but they're also like adults will enjoy them. I loved it because it's set in today's world, but it involves a cast that you don't really know. It's a bunch of kids that you don't really know, but it is real life. And it is, it's a little corny and it's a little, jokey and whatever, but very much in the Lost Boys Monster Squad sort of way. It's got the kid Mero from the Bodega Boys and Desus and Mero. He actually plays a bodega owner in the Bronx.
It's sweet.
Highly Bronx, highly hip hop, highly Timberlands, you know what I mean? And jean jackets. Like, it's an awesome movie. So yeah, I just want to tell people to go watch that. I should get paid, but I'm not. And yeah, man, like Freddy, Jason, Halloween, all those thanks, John called me the big Karen, but he is right. Vampires versus the Bronx was solid. It was you should definitely go check it out. But out of those big 3, Alex, I was more of a Halloween guy. Michael Myers, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was more of a Freddy out of the big 3. Freddy always got me. Like I think I was him for Halloween twice. Even though my parents wouldn't even let me watch the movie, they wouldn't let me watch the movie when I was like in elementary school, but I was still just like, dude, this Freddy guy seems sick. So I got like, the hat and the sweater. And then later I found out that he was like a pedophile that would like lure kid. Like, that's the Freddy backstory. He was like a sexual. I think they kind of like went away from it as the franchise grew.
Damn, that's too bad. That's dark. I like it.
Well, no, I mean, I feel like that's why the first one in every series is always, I feel like, the kind of like the most realistic, creepy. Yeah. I think the backstory on Freddy Krueger was that he was a pedophile, sexual predator to kids, molester.
He's Epstein.
And all of and he worked at the school, I believe, or something. He was in the neighborhood. All the parents rounded him up, put him in the boiler room, and I think burned him alive. And that's how they killed him, to get rid of him. And that's why he had all the scars and hung out in the boiler room, which is
Freddy is now my favorite horror movie franchise, and I need to reassess my whole view of that whole thing. That is awesome.
That is a dark ass origin story that I feel like as the franchise grew, the studios are probably like, let's move away from that origin story,
I mean, how topical was it? That would rake in 2020. Rake, R-A-K-E. That would rake.
Rake. Yes,
it would. I mean, it's very Epstein-esque. We definitely need to lock pedos in basements and set them on fire. Like, let's go.
For every 100 pedos you burn in a basement, one comes back to haunt your dreams. That's what they say.
That is a great tagline for the poster. I can see it now, like splattered in blood, like the claws sprayed it across the bottom. Freddy scared the shit out of me. So like when I say Freddy was, I mean, I love Freddy, I love Jason, and I love Michael Myers and Halloween, but like Freddy was the most scary. Jason was the most hilarious. Like Jason Takes Manhattan. Like eventually, just Jason it was all about boobs and like laughing. Like when he cutted the dude's head into the trash, I was like, oh my god, that's hilarious. And Halloween was the most fun. Like I don't know, maybe it was the music, maybe it was that like each Halloween
so good.
Yeah, maybe it was because Halloween was so centered around so much around Halloween, and it's almost like. It's like a Halloween movie. Yes, it has the name. I get that. But it's just like a fun movie. The music, the cinematography in those first 2 Halloween movies is incredible. If you go back and watch some of the continuous shots and how that film really kind of shaped the horror genre. And I'm not like a horror nerd. Like I don't know a ton, but you got to be an idiot to not watch those first couple Halloweens and not see how special some of the camera work is in that. Special stuff.
Well, I think horror, like I think I'm the same level of horror interest or involvement as you, but it's a genre that you can go so deep in and with foreign films and B movies and cult, like
it's like heavy metal.
Yes. Like I like horror. I've seen a lot of horror. I love it. And if I got in a room with like your friend, you said that's a real horror nerd, I'd get knocked out in round one. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
I
I
still
just
think.
shut up. I'm just like, yeah, dude, you go ahead.
But my friends are like, oh, what's a good horror movie? They're like, they're like, oh, Alex likes scary movies. But then you go with one of those people and they're like, oh, yeah, like you don't know shit. So it's like heavy metal in that way. It's a genre that has no end.
Yep.
I'll end on this question because you brought up, and I might watch. Well, I'm gonna watch, but I might make this the answer to the question: Vampires versus the Bronx. But I've been seeing this girl. And I love watching horror movies during this time of year. I like, people get in the mood for Christmas. I get in the mood for Halloween.
Yep.
She hates them. And we watched Reanimator together the other night, which I had never seen. 80s horror, not scary, but super gory. And she hated it. And she was like, I'm never, like, we can't, no more. And then yesterday she said, hey, I'll give it one more shot. Pick a good one. And so I want to like ease into the genre. I didn't know how gory Reanimator was. There's a scene where
dude, come on.
A corpse's intestines come out of the stomach and like wrap around the guy's neck and choke him out. I was like, oh shit, this is a little gory. My bad,
Yeah. I mean, I think Vampires vs. the Bronx is like the perfect because it's current, it's pop culture, it's funny, it's fairly light. There's a few like violent scenes, but it's PG-13, so it's nothing like, or Blade. I mean,
I've never seen Blade.
You've never seen Blade? You've never? Why?
Never seen it.
What? We've been going so well these past couple months.
Wow.
And then it's like, what other Wesley Snipes movies haven't you seen? You haven't seen Passenger 57?
I've seen Passenger 57.
Okay. Art of War.
Demolition Man.
Murder at 1600.
Yes. I like Wesley Snipes.
Rising Sun.
Have not seen it.
Go fuck yourself.
Okay, I've got homework. I have seen Passenger 57's great. I used to
seen Blade.
I don't know. I did used to troll people in the comments when I worked in sports radio up in Oregon. I used to troll people in the comment section of OregonLive.com as Wesley Snipes fan 420, and I would just troll people as like an Oregon State troll. But I guess I was even lying to myself because I hadn't seen Blade, and
you were trolling yourself.
Yeah, I was trolling myself.
Yeah, it's messed up. See Rising Sun over Blade. It's just so great. Sean Connery and him. There's a murder at a LA business that they need to investigate, and Wesley can't do it on his own because you got to see it.
I'm sold already.
Yeah.
Frozen is not a horror film.
Wesley Snipes love.
Wait, what'd you say?
More Wesley Snipes love.
100%.
U.S. Marshals. I'm just trying to run off all the.
U.S. Marshals is like really high up there on the rewatchable list for
all
me.
of those ones were anything with Tommy Lee Jones.
Dude, so good. U.S. Marshals is so good.
Yeah, Under Siege was terrible. Tommy Lee Jones made it, right? The Fugitive was great because it had Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. What was the one with Benicio del Toro, The Hunted? It was like in the Oregon, Washington woods where he was like the Iraq war vet. And he was all crazy. And like Tommy Lee Jones he had to hunt him like a wolf because this dude was like a wolf and he like lived in the woods. Tommy Lee Jones is the shit, man. U.S. Marshals are Fugitive, Truth from Duluth. I mean, it's Harrison Ford, and I love U.S. Marshals. Yeah.
I go U.S. Marshals. I like the Robert Downey Jr. factor in that one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I will go with U.S. Marshals in that decision.
That was prime coked out Robert Downey Jr. too. That was young RDJ.
Yeah, that was prime coke RDJ.
Yeah.
The fan.
Cocaine he bought with the check from that movie. The Fan with De Niro. Yes, Willie G. Yes, Pops. Yo, that is. I haven't went back and watched it. If for anyone who doesn't know, The Fan with Robert De Niro, baseball movie. Benicio del Toro plays like kind of like a Barry Bonds. He plays for the Giants. Sort of like. I don't know. It's like a little bit of. I mean, it depends on how you look at it because it's a little Taxi Driver-esque, but maybe that's just because it's De Niro and your mind immediately goes to that. But wouldn't you say? I mean, have you seen The Fan, Alex?
Yeah, it's also one I haven't rewatched.
Yeah.
But it is one where you empathize with the weirdo a bit.
A little bit, but I also think it's just a great highlight of where we were headed as sports fans and what sports means to people and what is a sports fan. I'm sure it's a bit corny. Robert De Niro is the knife salesman who goes taxi driver on the Major League Baseball players, sort of. but like there is a detachment and of society. I don't know. Like it's no Falling Down. Like if you're going to say Falling Down or The Fan, I'm taking Falling Down. But as a sports fan, The Fan is a eerie, wild ass movie.
I think The Fan is a movie that deserves a remake in the social media era.
Yes.
And make that a factor in I think that could be, because it's the ethos of that film, the obsessive kind of weird fan, that's not changed. It's maybe just changed forms a little bit. And there's more of a platform for it. I think that would be an interesting remake for sure.
Another movie we need to remake, which I brought up this week, as Dak Prescott got his ankle sent through his foot there, and now he's on a complete rebuild. I saw a lot of media saying this is why I'm player first, right? This is why I always side with the player. I will always be player first. And yes, it's because of Dak Prescott, but more specifically, it's because I grew up in the 90s and I saw a great 90s classic that needs a remake that never gets talked about, The Program. I know when old boy brought the door knocker for his mom, and then he couldn't fulfill that promise and his leg snapped on that play. I was raised to be player first. James Conn is every college football head coach. The NCAA doesn't care about you, and I learned that through The Program. Player first. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your chickens, Alex Crawford, as the great Marshawn Lynch once told us. Take care of your chickens.
Take care of your mental. Take care of your chickens. Last Boy Scout. This is not Wesley Snipes. That's another great 90s film with a football factor.
I watched that a couple of years ago. Hilarious.
Does not
hold up, but incredible movie. Like, incredible movie.
Pre-COVID, I was at a bar in Long Beach, and they were just showing that movie with subtitles on. And I was like, I literally watched the whole thing. I was like, my buddy was there. I was like, dude, I'm kind of just going to post up it. I didn't have a TV in my apartment yet. I was like, I think I'm just going to watch The Last Boy Scout on subtitles and drink at this bar. Good call.
Berry. Damon Wayans. My wife we were watching it, and she was trying to understand how like Damon Wayans was in this movie. She's like, why? Like, why? I was like, you don't understand Damon Wayans like that. He was the next Eddie Murphy. Like, they had plans for him. Bruce was coming off the Die Hard franchise. There were plans for this movie. There were plans.
It was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be talked about on that Die Hard level, and it just obviously does not. No. It does not hold up.
No, it doesn't. But it's enjoyment, and it was for kids like you and I, Alex. It was that family video blockbuster special. Like if you went to the video store, just like you were getting a new movie, and then there was something in that you maybe didn't want, but oh shit, Last Boy Scout's in. You take the little tag off Last Boy Scout. You watch it for the 17th time. You see some boobies. Again, I go back to boobies. Probably 12-year-old me was more concerned with what movies had boobies than anything else, because
I actually remember that actually triggered a memory in me of renting The Last Boy Scout several times, but as a kid, and never really knowing what it was about, other than like a football player pulls out a gun and shoots people. I never really knew what the plot was. Now I'm like, there's a plot here. But as a kid, I remember renting it multiple times, but never knowing what it was actually about.
What a play!
Oh, it's a football movie, I guess, but it's like it's not a football movie.
Play on that.
The opening scene with the gun. I would always
it's literally what everyone thinks about. He's sitting there in the rain, bitch.
Yeah, and he's like chugging. I think he's got like pills. That was me chugging a pill. Okay.
So, you know what? They'll think about that. The 90s, The Program, The Last Boy Scout, The Fan. We're just running off all these movies. They literally make no sports movies anymore. Like they don't like. We were talking about the Vampires versus the Bronx, right? No, seriously, think about it. Rookie of the Year, Little Big League, Rudy. Like I'm just like running through Angels in the Outfield. Like I could keep going. There were sports movies upon sports movies upon sports movies. Now there are like zero.
Yeah, I'm doing a Google search right now. Best sports movies of the 2010s, and
Blindside, the Blindside preview, the Blindside trailer. I didn't even see the Blindside.
Man, I'll tell you what.
Kevin Costner made one. I know he made one. He's always making a sports movie like every 5 years. He made that Browns one, the draft movie.
I'll tell you what. Oh yeah, you've got Draft Day.
Yeah, cool.
You've got Concussion with Will Smith.
Okay, all right.
You've got.
Those aren't fun though. That's not Angels in the Outfield.
No, it's not. You've got Moneyball.
Major League.
No, these aren't fun.
No, they suck. Moneyball. Moneyball's awesome.
Yeah, but this is like your top 5 sports movies of the 2010s. Draft Day, Moneyball, 42 is good. Concussion, like, no, that's nothing. That's nothing.
They're all sad.
They're all too serious.
Yeah.
Moneyball, like business movie.
And
Draft Day.
every movie Rookie of the Year, Henry Rowan Gardner, Daniel Stern, Gary Busey, amazing movie, had heart. Where's Rookie of the Year? Where's my Henry Rowan Gardner, Alex?
Creed 1 and 2, I guess, are that's a good. Those are extensions of a series that started in the 70s.
Nice cover, Alex. But fair. Creed 1 and Creed 2 are bad.
Those are great. Yeah, those are great. I remember seeing Creed 1 and being like, okay, like that was a chill. That was a chill running down my spine.
It's the Rogue One of Rocky equivalents. Like, you didn't know it was going to be that good, but it ended up maybe being the best of the series. Like, I think the case could be made that Creed 1's the greatest Rocky movie.
Could be made. I wouldn't make it, but that you could make the case.
Yeah.
I don't have a mic stand.
Mic stand or anything? Are they asking you that because you're holding it?
Yeah, and the follow-up from our viewer God of Kush, Mike sounds great, but I feel like I'm watching Wheel of Fortune. I don't have a mic stand. I'm sorry, I don't have a mic stand.
Someone put your wish list. Make your Amazon wish list, Alex. Make it public.
Oh yeah, just hey, someone buy me mics. That's a good
call. like a girl of the night with her OnlyFans. They've got their Amazon wish list, right?
Damn right they do.
Their Amazon wish list out there. Put a little mic stand on it. One of our dedicated Cofield and Company late night happy hour listeners will help you out. Or ask Steve. You know what I mean? He's got you here on Tuesday. He's on vacation in New Orleans right now. Just say, "Stay, Steve. Let me get a little taste."
It's like it's an OnlyFans wish list. Mic stand instead of butt plug. Easy swap out. All right. Well, this was fun, Big Mac. Just us two. Buddy. No Cofield. He's probably sloshed off some hurricanes in the South.
We had fun. He's probably having more fun than we are.
Yeah, I'd bet on that. I'd bet on that. Okay. Well, I'll see you in a week.
All right, buddy.
Wait. Thanks, guys. This was fun. See y'all in a week.
See you in Vegas.
Later.